Today we are going to study about coordination and response in plants. So like plants also respond to stimulus similar to animals, right? But their response and their actions are not similar to the plants. They show changes in their growth pattern, right? Rate of their growth, or they show directional movements in which they change their direction of the growth from one side to another, right? And these movements which are towards any stimulus, right? If stimulus can be light, water, air, soil, gravity, anything. If any of the part of the plant is moving towards the stimulus, we say that they are showing the positive response or positive movements, right? And if any of the part is moving away from the stimulus, then we say that they are showing the negative feedback. And the movements which are shown by the plants or the rate of the growth, these are known as the tropism, right? Growth response in which one part of the plant may grow at a faster rate than the other, and these movements are known as the tropism, in which the direction of the growth is affected by the direction of the stimulus. For example, if it can be in the direction of the stimulus, positive, and it can be away from the stimulus, negative response, right? Stimulus can be anything, water, it can be gravity, it can be light, it can be air, it can be soil, and it can be touch and any other stimulus which can bring a change in plants, right? Movements which are in response to the water, these are known as the hydrotropism. For movements we use the word tropism, and for water we use the word hydro. So the movements which are in response to water, these are known as the hydrotropism, right? It can be positive. If it is any of the part of the plant is moving towards water, it will be the positive tropism, right? If it is hydrotropism, and if it is moving away from the water, any part, it will be negative hydrotropism, right? And the movements which are in response to the gravity, these are known as the geotropism or gravitroposm. Gravity is for the gravity, or geo is also for the earth, so it's also the geotropism or the gravitroposm. And the movements which are in response to the light, these are known as the phototropism, as the photo word is used for the light, right? Let's see that which parts show the positive movements and which part shows the negative movements. And you can see that there are two parts in the plants and different parts. There are shoots, there are roots, like there are flowers, there are buds, right? Shoots, they always grow away from the gravity. Like shoots, we have always seen shoots growing upward, they are growing away from the gravity, right? So it means that if they are growing away from the gravity, they are showing the negative geotropism, right? And the shoots, they always grow away from the water. We have also seen that water absorption is the function of the root hair or roots. We have never seen shoots absorbing water, and we have seen shoots growing away from the water, so they also show the negative hydrotropism. Then another is shoots, they grow towards light. We have always seen that shoots growing towards light. The purpose is they need more light to carry out photosynthesis. The leaves absorb water, and then they convert the solar energy into chemical energy through their chlorophyll, and they carry out photosynthesis. For this purpose, they need to move towards the light, so shoots show positive phototropism, right? And if we talk about the roots, it's opposite to the action of the shoots. Roots, they always grow towards gravity, right? And they also grow towards water. If they grow towards gravity, it means that they show positive geotropism, right? They grow towards water, so they also show positive hydrotropism, and they always grow away from light. It means that they exhibit negative phototropism. Clear? Okay. And like we studied in animals, that there are receptors, there are effectors, there are coordinators, right? But we do not see such things or such organs in plants. So where are the receptors present which sense the stimulus, right? Receptors are always present at the tips of the plants. It can be the shoot tip, right? It can be the tip of the leaf, it can be the tip of the root as well, right? tips are all for the tips we use the word apices. Apices plural or apex. Shoot tips, shoot apex or root apex, these are the tips. So the receptors are always present at the tips, which senses different stimulus, light, air, water, touch, right? And the effector is that part which will respond or which will produce an action that is present below the part of the tip, right? If this is apex, this is the receptor, and effectors will be present below this part anywhere on this position. And there are different types of the auxins which have different functions similar to hormones, right? Sorry, there are different hormones which have the different functions similar to those in plants, right? These are auxin, these are Gibberiline, these are cytokinine, and these are Ethene. But in our syllabus, it's only the auxin, so we are going to study auxin in detail. Auxin, that's always found at the tips of the shoots. Remember this, where these are found. These are present at the tips of the shoots, right? From there, it is synthesized in the tip, and from there it diffuses to different parts or lateral parts. These are the lateral parts of the plants, and it helps in the elongation of the cell, right? You can see that these are the smaller sizes of the cells. It helps in elongation of the cells. If the cell will be elongated, the size of the stem or root will be elongated, or it will increase. Or in other words, we say that it helps in the growth of the cells, right? Second is, in the presence of the light, what happens? It is distributed evenly on the tip. If the light is falling from the top, right, it will be evenly distributed in the tip, and all the cells will grow evenly. It will help in the growth of the stem upward or straightly upward, right? This is distributed evenly and it grows straight. Here you can see, even in the picture, here you can see that it is growing upward, right? In this picture it is growing straightly upward, but in this it is bending towards light. I'm going to tell you why it's bending, right? Here it's also growing upward, here it's also growing upward. Why it is bending towards the light? What happens when the light is falling onto the stem from only one side? Here you can see it is falling on one side. Then auxin is concentrated to the shady side or opposite to the light. So it is concentrated on this side, right? Wherever there is more auxin in stem, I'm not talking about the roots, I'm talking about the shoots or the stem. Whenever there is more auxin on the shady surface, there is more growth on this side. More cell will elongate, or more cells will divide. This will result in bending of the shoot towards light, right? The reason is there is more auxin, or auxin is concentrated to the opposite end of the light, which helps or which results in the elongation of the cells or the growth of the cells. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, this helps in bending, and here you can also see that auxin is concentrated on the shady side, and it is helping in bending of the shoot towards light, right? This phenomena helps in photosynthesis or capturing the solar light. Then what happens in horizontal position? That was, we talked about when the stem is upward or straight, right? When the stem is in horizontal position, here you can see when it is in horizontal position, then what happens? The auxin is always collected on the lower side, right? If it is concentrated on the lower side, what will happen? The cells on the lower side will elongate, right? They will increase in number, they will divide more rapidly, so this will help in bending of the stem upward in this way. You can see here, right? This is why, because the cells at the lower side are growing very rapidly because of the more concentration of the auxin at the bottom. Clear? Just remember this. This was about the stem. Here I have written that it slows down the growth in roots, right? Slows down the growth. It means that if it is concentrated on the lower side, the growth rate in roots will be reduced, or it will be less. Just remember this. It is, you can say, opposite to stem. Clear?
Yeah.
You need to remember this. If they're talking about the stem, the high concentration will increase the rate, and if they're talking about the roots, the high concentration will decrease the growth rate. They have talked about the seedlings here, right? Seedlings, which are seeds which are going to germinate or grow into new plants. These are the seedlings. Auxin built up on the lower side, similar like we have discussed in the previous slide. Radical is that part from which the root is formed, right? And it bends downward. Here you can see I've told you one thing, that if there is high concentration of auxin, it will slow down the growth rate in stem. And radical is that part which forms the root, right? And the one which they have shown here, this is the radical. Here you can see if its concentration is higher at the lower side, right? If its concentration is higher at the lower side, then what will happen? Growth rate will be increased or growth rate will be decreased. This is the root. Just remember this. In roots, what happens if the concentration of the auxin is high? Then the growth rate is reduced to that side where its concentration is high. Right here we can see at this side, you can see at this side the growth rate is less, while at the upper side the growth rate is more. Right, so it means that at this side or at the lower side the growth rate is less because of more auxin. It is opposite to that of the stem. Clear? And here I've also written in stem, it promotes cell enlargement, or we can also say cell elongation, right, in the regions behind the apex. Apex are the root tips, and it promotes cell division, leave this cambium, and in leave this cambium. Then in root, it also promotes the growth at very low concentration, right? Inhibits growth at very high concentration. So we can say it is opposite to stem. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Then these are not in the syllabus. Another important thing is
Wait, Miss.
Yes.
The Weedkiller part. It's in the syllabus.
Yeah, this one. I'm talking about these. Gibberiline, cytokinine, abscisic acid. These are not in the syllabus. Right. Etiolation is when the seedlings are grown in dark. Right. In dark means that the auxin is evenly distributed as there is no light, right? So what happens, it helps in the growth of the plant upward. So the stem or the plant, it grows straightly upward. It is thin, it is tall, and it is pale, right? Thin is because the cells are elongating, right? They are not growing, you can say, in the width. This is also because of the division in the cells horizontally. And then it is tall. It is tall because the cells are elongating because of auxin. And it is pale. Why it is pale? Do you know? Do you have any idea?
Because there's no chlorophyll to give it color.
Yeah, because as it's the seedling, it's the germinating seed. It has not developed its leaves to carry out photosynthesis till it has not developed its chlorophyll, right? So it has no light, so no chlorophyll. If there is no chlorophyll, it has no green color, so it is paler, right? Auxin is, as the auxin is distributed evenly at the tips, the shoots grow and they are tall and thin. This is known as the etiolation. If this plant is continuously growing in dark, what will happen? Or if it is not provided with the light?
I think it would grow for some time, but, it would be very colorless.
Yeah,
it would be tall, but it would be very thin, colorless, and eventually it would die.
Why would it die? It is growing.
Because it won't be able to make food.
Yeah, because as there is no chlorophyll, they won't be able to carry out photosynthesis and they won't be able to survive anymore. The already stored food in the seedlings will be used for some time, right? When it will be totally or completely consumed, as the plant lacks chlorophyll, no further food will be synthesized and they will eventually die, right? Next is the weed killers. Weed killers, they contain, they kill weeds and they contain plant hormone. Mostly they contain auxin, right? And this auxin is not the one which is extracted from the plants or obtained from the plants. It is auxin which is synthesized in the laboratories or which is synthesized in the factories, right? This is actually 2,4-di-indole acetic acid, and we also represent it by 2,4-D, right? 2,4-di-indole acetic acid at position number 2, and position number 4, di-indole is attached to the acetic acid, right? How do they kill weeds? Weeds are actually sensitive to auxins, right? They are affected by the auxin. When we spray them with the auxin or the weed killers which contain auxin, they grow, become tall and thin, just like the etiolation, right? They keep on growing and they do not carry out photosynthesis, and after some time they die. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, any problem?
No. Miss, can you quickly revise the I part with me?
You really want me to revise the I part? You still have confusion in that part.